What if the reason you're stuck isn't lack of talent but too much noise? When you stop announcing every step, you start accelerating progress. You don't need permission to grow, you just need the discipline to do it quietly. In a world obsessed with attention, choosing silence is a radical act. We live in an age where validation is currency, where sharing every move feels necessary, and where applause often dictates our direction. But there is a different path, a more powerful one. A path where focus replaces noise and purpose drowns out opinion. This message is a call back to that path, a reminder that your growth doesn't require permission and your destiny doesn't need to be announced. Let's dive in. Music, there's a trap that so many of us fall into, and it's the need for validation. We want people to see our progress, to acknowledge our hard work, to approve of the choices we make, but the truth is, the moment you start depending on outside approval, you give away your power. You allow others to dictate how you feel about yourself, and that's a dangerous way to live, because the same people who clap for you today might ignore you tomorrow, and if your confidence is built on their applause, what happens when the clapping stops? That's why the most important thing you can do is focus on yourself, not in a selfish way, but in a way that makes you better every single day. See, when you make yourself the priority, you stop worrying about what everyone else is doing. You stop chasing people who don't appreciate. You stop explaining yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, you turn all that energy inward where it actually makes a difference. It's easy to get caught up in what other people think. Maybe you've got big dreams, but you're afraid to take the first step because you don't know how people will react. Maybe you're trying to improve yourself, but every time you make progress, someone has something negative to say. Let me tell you something, people will always have opinions. They will always have something to say, but opinions don't pay your bills. They don't put food on your table, and they certainly don't determine your worth. The moment you start prioritizing your growth over their validation, you become unstoppable. You stop looking around wondering if people notice your progress. You stop posting every move you make just to prove you're doing something. You stop living for the approval of people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared. Instead, you develop discipline. You wake up every day and put in the work, not because someone is watching, but because you know it's necessary. There's power in moving in silence when you're focused on yourself. You don't have to announce every goal, every plan, every success. You just keep working, you just keep growing, and before you know it, the results speak for themselves. The people who doubted you, they'll see it. The ones who didn't believe in you, they'll see it. But by then, their opinion won't even matter because you didn't do it for them, you did it for yourself. And let me tell you something else. When you truly focus on yourself, you develop a level of peace that no one can shake. You're no longer controlled by other people's judgments. You don't feel the need to explain yourself. Don't get caught up in unnecessary arguments trying to prove your worth. You just exist in your own power, knowing that your value doesn't decrease because someone else fails to see it. So I want you to ask yourself, are you living for them or are you living for you? Are you making choices based on what you truly want, or are you adjusting yourself to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be? Because at the end of the day, you are the one who has to live with the decisions you make. You are the one who has to look in the mirror and be proud of the person staring back, no one else. It's time to stop seeking permission to be great. Stop waiting for someone to recognize your potential before you take action. Stop expecting people to clap for you. Before you decide to believe in yourself, if you want to grow, if you want to change your life, change it. Don't waste another waiting for someone else to validate your dreams. You are enough, and the only approval you will ever truly need is your own silence. is one of the most underrated strengths a person can have. But in a world where everyone wants to be heard, where people feel the need to announce every thought, every move, every opinion, silence has become rare. We live in a time where people believe that if they don't talk about what they're doing, it must not be happening. But real power doesn't come from talking. It comes from doing. It comes from knowing when to speak, and more importantly, when to stay quiet. There's something about silence that makes people uncomfortable. They mistake it for weakness, for insecurity, for a lack of confidence. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Silence is a strategy. Silence is discipline. Silence is knowing that not everything needs to be shared, that not every move needs an announcement, that not every opinion deserves a response. When you learn how to control your words, you gain control over your life. The problem is people love noise, they love drama, they love attention, and so many fall into the trap of thinking they need to explain themselves to everyone, prove themselves to people who don't even matter, or respond to every piece of negative activity that comes their way. But let me tell you something. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. The people who truly matter will see your progress without you having to say a word. And the ones who don't, well, they were never really paying attention anyway. There's a reason the most successful people in the world don't spend their time arguing online. They don't waste their energy proving themselves to people who are committed to misunderstanding them. They don't announce every step they take because they know that real success is built in silence. It's built in those quiet moments when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one even knows what's happening. That's where real growth happens. But some of you are letting the need for validation slow you down. You want people to see what you're doing. You want them to acknowledge your effort. And when they don't, you start to doubt yourself. But the truth is, their approval is not required for you to succeed. You don't need to broadcast your every move to prove you're making progress. The work will speak for itself when the time is right. Some things in life should be protected: your plans, your growth, your dreams. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your emotions, your next move. Sometimes the best thing you can do is keep things to yourself, because the moment you start telling everyone what you're working on, invite opinions, doubts, negativity, and distractions. And some of those voices will plant seeds of doubt in your mind before you even get started. Have you ever noticed that the people who talk the most usually accomplish the least? That's because they spend all their energy trying to convince people of their potential instead of actually doing the work. But when you move in silence, when you focus on execution instead of explanation, you free yourself from that trap. You stop worrying about who believes in you. Stop looking for applause. You just do the work. And when you do that consistently, the results will be so undeniable that you won't have to say a thing. See, when you master the art of silence, you become unpredictable. People don't know what you're up to. They can't interfere with your plans. They can't sabotage what they don't see coming. And that gives you an advantage, because while they're busy talking, you're busy building. While they're distracted by noise, you're making progress in peace. Silence doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're afraid. It means you understand that words don't create success action. Does it mean you know that not every battle is worth fighting, that not every opinion deserves a response, that not every move needs an announcement? It means you trust yourself enough to know that what's meant for you will come, whether people see it coming or not. One of the biggest traps in life is comparison. It sneaks up on you when you least expect it. You could be feeling good about yourself, proud of your progress, and then suddenly you see someone else doing better, moving faster, achieving more. And just like that, your confidence starts to crack. You start questioning yourself, wondering if you're behind, if you're not good enough, if you should be doing more. But let me tell you something. Comparison is a distraction, and if you let it, will rob you of your focus, your energy, and your joy. The truth is, no two people have the same journey. You weren't meant to follow someone else's timeline. You weren't meant to have the same success, the same struggles, or the same breakthroughs as the person next to you. And yet so many people waste time measuring themselves against others instead of focusing on their own path. They look at someone else's success and start feeling like they're failing. They see what someone else has, and suddenly what they have doesn't feel like enough. But the problem isn't that they're lacking, it's that they're looking in the wrong direction. When you spend your time comparing yourself to others, you take your eyes off your own progress. You stop seeing how far you've come because you're too busy watching someone else's highlight reel. And let's be honest, people only show you what they want you to see. Social media makes it even worse. You're not seeing the late nights, the failures, the doubts, the moments of struggle. You're seeing the polished version, the best part, the finished product. And if you compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, you will always feel like you're not enough. That's why you have to discipline your mind to stay focused on your own path. It doesn't matter what someone else is doing. It doesn't matter how fast they are moving or how successful they seem. What matters is that you're growing, that you're improving, that you're becoming better than you were yesterday. Because at the end of the day, the only person you should be competing with is yourself. Some of you are holding yourselves back because you're too focused on the wrong things. You're looking around, checking to see who's ahead, who's behind, who's watching, but none of that matters. What someone else is doing has nothing to do with your journey. Your path is yours alone. And the moment you start truly focusing on yourself, everything changes. You stop feeling the pressure to prove something. You stop chasing things just because other people have them. You stop living by someone else's definition of success and start creating your own. But that takes discipline. It takes being intentional about where you place your energy. It takes reminding yourself that just because someone else is winning doesn't mean you're losing. Life is not a race. There is no deadline for success. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. Think about this. When runners are in a race, the moment they start looking to the side to see where their competitors are, they slow down, their form breaks, their momentum shifts. They lose focus. Why? Because they stopped running their race and started worrying about someone else's. That's exactly what happens when you let comparison take over. You slow down, you lose momentum, you start making decisions based on what other people are doing instead of what's actually right for you. But when you stay in your lane, when you keep your eyes forward and your mind focused, you move differently. You stop letting outside distractions dictate your pace. You start trusting that what's meant for you will come in its own time. You start understanding that success isn't about being first. It's about being consistent. So today I want you to make a decision to stop looking around and start looking within, a decision to stop measuring yourself against others and start measuring yourself against who you were yesterday. Because at the end of the day, the only competition that truly matters is the one between you and your own potential. And if you can wake up every day and say, I'm better than I was yesterday, then you are already winning. Energy is one of the most valuable things you have, and yet too many people waste it on things that don't matter. They waste it on arguments that lead nowhere, on proving themselves to people who don't even care, on holding on to things that should have been let go a long time ago. But when you start to understand just how precious your energy is, you start to protect it. You stop giving it away so easily. You become intentional about where it goes, who gets access to it, and what you allow to take up space in your mind. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every comment needs a response. Not every situation requires your involvement. Some of you are exhausted not because you're working hard on your goals, but because you're spending too much time dealing with things that don't serve you. Let small distractions pull you away from what actually matters. You let negativity enter your space when it should have been ignored. You engage in conversations that drain you instead of uplift you, and then you wonder why you feel stuck, why you feel like you're running in circles. It's not that you're incapable, it's that you're spending your energy in all the wrong places. The truth is, not everyone deserves access to you. Just because someone demands your time doesn't mean you have to give it. Just because someone questions your choices doesn't mean you have to explain yourself. You don't owe the world an explanation for how you choose to live your life. Some things are meant to be handled in silence. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Some people are only there to distract you, to test you, to pull you off course. And if you're not careful, you find yourself spending more time dealing with them than building yourself. There's a difference between being busy and being productive. Some people spend their entire lives being busy, but they never move forward. They're always caught up in something, always involved in drama, is reacting to every little thing that comes their way. But at the end of the day, they have nothing to show for it, no progress, no peace, no real growth. And that's because they never learned how to protect their energy. They let too many things drain them, and by the time they get around to their own goals, they have nothing left to give. But when you start being selective, when you start choosing where your energy goes, everything changes. You stop entertaining meaningless distractions. You stop allowing people to pull you into their chaos. You stop explaining yourself to those who were never really listening in the first place. You start moving differently. You start protecting your space. And most importantly, you start making real progress. People will always have opinions. They will always have something to say about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and whether or not they think you'll succeed. But their opinions don't determine your reality. Their words don't dictate your future. And the moment you realize that you free yourself, you stop wasting time trying to change their minds. You stop trying to convince people to see your worth. You stop handing over your energy to things that don't build you. Instead, you redirect that energy, see where it belongs, on yourself, on your growth, on the things that actually move you forward. You start putting your time into your goals, into your peace, into your progress. You stop reacting to every little thing and start responding only to the things that truly matter. You develop a level of discipline that allows you to stay focused no matter what's happening around you. And let me tell you something, when you start moving like that, people will notice. They may not understand it at first. They may wonder why you've stopped engaging in nonsense, why you no longer explain yourself, why you don't react the way you used to, but eventually they'll see it. They'll see the growth. They'll see the peace. They'll see the results that come when you stop wasting your energy and start using it wisely. So, from this moment forward, I want you to guard your energy like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Be intentional, be selective, and most of all, be focused. Because when you learn to protect your energy, nothing and no one can stop you from becoming exactly who you were meant to be. A lot of people want success, but not everyone is willing to stay consistent. They get excited about a new goal, a new plan, a new vision for their life, but when the excitement fades, so does their effort. They start strong, but the moment things get difficult, the moment progress isn't happening as fast as they want, they slow down. They start looking for shortcuts, for quick results, for an easier way. But real success doesn't come from doing something once in a while. It comes from showing up every single day, even when no one is watching, even when no one is clapping, even when it feels like nothing is happening. The people who truly succeed in life aren't the ones who talk the most. They aren't the ones who make the biggest announcements, who tell everyone what they're going to do. They're the ones who work in silence, the ones who commit to the process even when it's hard, the ones who show up for themselves day in and day out without needing outside validation, because they understand that consistency is the secret. It's not about big moves, it's about small disciplined actions repeated over time. But too many people want results without the discipline they want, success without the sacrifice. They want to skip the hard part and jump straight to the reward. And when it doesn't happen fast enough, they start making excuses. They start blaming circumstances, blaming other people, blaming everything but themselves. But the truth is, success doesn't work like that. You don't get to skip the process. You don't get to avoid the work. You either stay consistent or you stay in the same place. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone start something full of motivation only to quit a few weeks later? How many times have you yourself committed to something only to let it fade when life got in the way? That's the difference between those who make it and those who don't. The ones who make it don't rely on motivation, because motivation comes and goes. They rely on discipline. They rely on habits. They rely on the understanding that success is built in the moments when you don't feel like showing up, but you do it anyway. Some of you are sitting on dreams that could change your life, but you're waiting for the right time, the right mood, the right circumstances. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, next week, next year, but deep down you know the truth. There is no perfect time. There is no perfect moment. The only thing that matters is what you do right now. And if you're not willing to stay consistent in the present, you'll never see the future you want. You have to move in silence. Stop announcing every plan, every goal, every step you're going to take. Stop looking for validation before you even begin. Just do the work, because when you talk too much, you give people the opportunity to plant doubt in your mind. You open the door for distractions. You start seeking approval instead of focusing on execution. But when you move in silence, when you stay locked in on your goals, no one can interfere with your progress. Let me tell you something. People will notice your results before they notice your effort. That's just how the world works. They won't see the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices you make. They won't see the days you wanted to quit but kept going anyway. But one day when the results start showing, when your consistency starts paying off, they'll wonder how you did it. They'll think it happened overnight. They won't realize it was the work you put in when no one was watching that made all the difference. And that's why you have to stay consistent even when it feels like no one cares, even when it feels like no one sees you, because the truth is the process will always test you before it rewards you. It will ask you how bad you really want. It will push you to keep going when it would be easier to quit. And if you can stay consistent through the hard days, through the days when nothing seems to be working, through the moments of doubt, then success is inevitable. So whatever it is you're working on, whatever goal, whatever dream, stay consistent, keep moving in silence, keep showing up even when it's hard, because one day the work you're putting in right now will speak so loudly that you won't have to say a single word. Most people don't realize how much noise surrounds them every single day. Noise. From opinions, from distractions, from doubts, from unnecessary conversations. And if you're not careful, that noise will drown out your own voice. It will pull you in 100 different directions until you forget why you even started. That's why at some point you have to shut it all out. You have to make the decision to block out the distractions, to separate yourself from the things and people that do nothing but slow you down. Because if you don't, you will spend your entire life reacting instead of creating, listening instead of leading, following, instead of building the truth. is not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Not everyone will support what you're doing. Some people won't believe in you, some people will doubt you, some people will even try to discourage you, not because they truly know what's best for you, but because they don't have the courage to do what you're doing. And when they see you growing, when they see you breaking free from the limits they've accepted for themselves, it makes them comfortable. It forces them to question their own choices. And instead of rising higher, they try to bring you down to their level. But that is not your concern. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your growth. You do not need permission to become who you were meant to be. Some of you are carrying the weight of other people's expectations, other people's doubts, other people's fears. And it's slowing you down. You're hesitating, second-guessing, overthinking because you're too worried about what people will say. But let me tell you something, what they think does not matter. They are not the ones who will have to live with the consequences of your choices. You are. And if you spend your life trying to make everyone else comfortable, you will never fully step into your own potential. That's why you have to learn to move in silence, to keep your vision protected, to stop allowing outside voices to control your direction. Because when you start to elevate, distractions will increase. The more you grow, the more people will have opinions about what you should or shouldn't be doing. And if you give them too much attention, you'll start adjusting your actions to fit their expectations instead of your own purpose. But the people who truly succeed in life, the ones who reach their full potential, they understand something most people don't. They understand that silence is power, that discipline is stronger than approval, that true focus comes from shutting out the unnecessary. They know that their success does not depend on being understood by everyone, and so they keep moving forward even when no one else sees the vision. Some of you have dreams so big that they scare you, and because they scare you, look for reassurance. You want someone to tell you that you're on the right track. You want confirmation before you take the next step. But let me ask you something. If people around you can't see what you see, if they don't believe what you believe, what happens when that confirmation never comes? Do you stop? Do you shrink your vision to fit their small perspective, or do you keep going? Even if no one else understands, you cannot afford to wait for validation. You cannot afford to slow down just because the people around you don't get it yet. You have to be willing to move forward even in silence, even in uncertainty, even when no one else believes, because belief starts with you. No one will take you seriously, Lee, until you take yourself seriously. No one will trust your vision until you trust it first. And the more you rely on external validation, the weaker your foundation becomes. That's why it's so important to be intentional about what you listen to. If you surround yourself with people who doubt, who hesitate, who always see the worst case scenario, that mindset will rub off on you. But if you surround yourself with discipline, with focus, with the kind of silence that builds, you will move differently. You will carry yourself with a quiet confidence that doesn't need to be explained. At the end of the day, your life is your responsibility, your success, your growth, your peace. It all depends on the choices you make. And one of the most powerful choices you can make is to shut out the distractions, to stop seeking APR approval, and to move with purpose. Because when you do that, nothing and no one can stop you. At the end of the day, your journey is yours alone. The distractions, the opinions, the comparisons, none of it truly matters. What matters is your focus, your discipline, your ability to move forward, even when no one else understands. The world is full of noise, but the ones who rise above it are those who learn to stay silent, to protect their energy, and to work in the shadows until their success speaks for itself. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need validation to be great. What you need is consistency, resilience, and the courage to stay committed. when the results aren't immediate. So stop looking around, stop explaining yourself, stop waiting for approval. Focus on yourself. Move in silence, because when you do, your growth will be undeniable. And one day the world won't be able to ignore the person you become. There's a subtle power in doing the work when no one's watching. In a world screaming for attention, choosing to build in the quiet is a bold declaration of focus. When you stop posting every step, you stop inviting distraction, you stop allowing other people's doubts, comparisons, or noise to interfere with your process. That's when your energy stops leaking and starts working for you. Most people don't realize how much power they're giving away. Every time you pause to explain your next move, every time you seek feedback from someone who hasn't earned the right to advise you, every time you hesitate because someone else might not understand, you're handing over your momentum. But when you choose silence, you reclaim that power. You start to understand that it's not about hiding, it's about protecting. You're not afraid of failing, you're just done performing. Because performance is exhausting. It demands a show, and every show needs an audience. But growth is personal. Growth is sacred, and it doesn't need to be witnessed to be real. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will happen when no one is clapping. Some of your deepest healing will come when no one is around to notice. And the progress you make in those hidden seasons is often the most important kind, because it's in the silence that you meet yourself. It's in the quiet that you discover what truly matters to you, without the noise of validation clouding your clarity. And that's where discipline is born. Discipline is waking up and doing the work even when it feels invisible. It's showing up for your goals without needing recognition. It's becoming so rooted in your why that the absence of applause doesn't discourage you. If you want results, get consistent. If you want peace, get focused. If you want growth, stop talking and start doing. The people who win are the ones who keep going when the spotlight fades. They understand that success isn't built in the moment you're praised. It's built in the moments you persist, even when it's just you and the goal. So if no one sees you grinding right now, good. Let the work speak later. If no one claps, clap for yourself. If no one validates your vision, build it anyway. Because the only permission you need to become great is your own. Here's the truth most people don't want to admit. The grind isn't glamorous. It's repetitive. It's quiet. It's lonely. It's the same actions, day after day, with little to no recognition. And that's exactly why most people quit. Not because they're incapable, but because they expect the results to come faster than the discipline is built. But not you. You've come too far to stop now. You've endured too much to turn back. And if you're going to keep moving forward, you need to lock in harder than ever. You need to stop waiting for motivation and start trusting your habits. Stop looking for inspiration and start becoming your own reason. Because the most powerful version of you is born in the fire of consistency. You won't always feel inspired. You won't always feel strong. But you can always choose to keep going. And that's what separates the people who make it from the people who don't. Not talent, not intelligence, but the willingness to stay committed when it's uncomfortable. Every late night, every early morning, every quiet sacrifice, no one saw it all matters. It all adds up, and it will pay off, because when you build in silence, you're not just building results, you're building resilience. You're training your mind to stay focused. You're training your heart to stay grounded. And you're proving to yourself that your future is more important than your comfort. So let them wonder. Let them doubt. Let them ask where you've gone. You've gone inward. You've gone deeper. You've gone quiet, not because you gave up, but because you leveled up. You've learned the art of discipline, the strength of silence, and the beauty of becoming without broadcasting, and one day the results will be undeniable. One day they'll look for the moment you made it, and they won't be able to find it, because the truth is, you didn't make it in a moment. You made it in the silence. So if you're still waiting for a sign to stay on course, this is it. Stay focused, stay disciplined, stay grounded. The noise around you doesn't define you. The silence you're building in, that's where the real change is happening. Every quiet yes to your goals is rewriting your future. Every decision to delay gratification is shaping your character. Every time you stay consistent when quitting would be easier, you're laying bricks no one else sees, but that one day, everyone will. There will be a moment when the world sees the fruit, but don't chase that moment, chase the mission. You're not doing this for claps, you're doing this for legacy. And legacy is never loud in the beginning. So tighten your focus, guard your energy, protect your peace, and remind yourself that moving in silence doesn't mean moving in weakness, it means moving with wisdom. You're building something eternal. Let the silence sharpen you. Let the discipline mature you. And let the results surprise everyone looting you.